Hello everyone, welcome to Rise of Coding. In this tutorial, we'll build a complete React project from scratch, a modern responsive landing page. You'll learn how to work with JSX, useState, and useEffect, and how to style the layout with Bootstrap and custom CSS. We'll also add smooth scroll animations using AOS library, and see the code and live result side by side. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and check out my other React tutorials for more fronted projects. Okay, now let's start building the website from scratch. First we will create a React app using Vite, then we will name the project, and choose React with JavaScript. Then we'll move to the project folder and install all the necessary libraries and dependencies that we'll use throughout the project. That includes the Bootstrap and Bootstrap icon for styling, and the AOS library for scroll animation. Then we'll import Bootstrap globally inside the main.jsx file, to make its styles available across the entire application. Then we'll add our custom global styles inside the index.css file. First we'll define a few CSS variables for fonts and colors, to maintain consistency across the website. Then we'll set the body styles with a full-page background image and a subtle overlay for a modern look. We'll also style links and headings for visual consistency, and add a class for sections that need a transparent and clean appearance. Then we'll clear the app.jsx file, and run the app to make sure everything is set up correctly before adding our components. Now we'll start building the project, beginning with the navbar component. It's very simple navbar, that displays the site name on the left and navigation links on the right. And on smaller screens, the navigation links are replaced by a menu icon. And when this icon is clicked, it smoothly expands the mobile menu to show the links. Now we'll move to the editor, and inside the src folder we'll create the components folder, and then create the navbar component. And we will use the simple browser preview, to view our app as we build it. And then we will import the navbar component into the app.jsx file, so it appears on the page. Inside the navbar component, we'll start by creating a state variable to control the mobile menu. After that, we'll return a header element with a dynamic class name. It includes some layout and spacing classes to align everything properly. Then, when the mobile menu is open, it adds another class called MobileNavActive, which makes the mobile navigation menu appear on the screen. And inside the header, we will add a container that holds the logo and navigation elements. The container uses layout classes to align its content and space them evenly. Inside it, we have a link that serves as the site logo title. After the logo section, we'll add the navigation menu. Inside it, we'll create an unordered list with list items. And each item containing a link that navigates to its section on the page. And we'll also add onClick function, to close the mobile menu when a link is clicked. And then we'll repeat the same structure, to add the remaining two links for the About and Contact sections. And then we add an icon that toggles the mobile menu. It switches between the menu icon and the close icon depending on whether the menu is open. And when clicking it, it will open or close the navigation menu on the smaller screens. Next, we'll move to the index.css file to style the navbar component. We start styling the header, we giving it a transparent background, with some padding, and a smooth transition effect. And for the logo, we set the line height to control the spacing around the text, so it looks balanced. Then, for the title, we increase the font size to make it stand out, and remove any default margin, and make the text bold, and apply the heading color to match the design. Then we're styling the navigation menu for desktop screens. We start by removing the extra padding from the menu itself. And then, for the list inside the menu, we remove default margin and padding, and display the items in a horizontal row using flex, and remove the bullets, and align the links vertically in the center. And we set each list item's position to relative. Then we style the links inside the navigation menu. We set their color, with some padding, and displayed as flex items, and centered vertically, with space between elements, and prevent the text from wrapping, and add a smooth transition for hover effects. We also remove the extra right padding on the last link to keep the spacing consistent. And when a link is hovered or marked as active, its color changes to the hover color to indicate it's selected. Then we style the navigation menu for mobile screens. We remove the extra padding from the menu, and give it a higher z-index, so it appears above other page elements when opened. And also we hide the navigation links by default. And make the menu positioned absolutely with some spacing from the top and sides. And we remove default list styles and add padding, and a border radius, and a background color for a clean look. We also allow vertical scrolling, and add a smooth transition and bring it above other elements using z-index, and add a subtle shadow to make the menu stand out. Then we style the mobile navigation links. We set their color and padding for a clear and readable look, and displayed as flex items, and centered vertically, with space between elements. We also add a smooth transition so that when a link is hovered or marked as active, its color changes to the accent color, giving a visual highlight. Then we style the mobile menu toggle icon. We set its color, and its size, with some spacing, and make the cursor a pointer so it's clear it's clickable. And add smooth color transition for hover effects. We also define the mobile nav active class, to hide any page overflow when the mobile menu is open, and preventing the background from scrolling. And when the mobile menu is active, we style the toggle icon to be color white, and slightly larger, and positioned in the top right corner above everything else. And the navigation menu becomes fixed, and covering the full screen with a semi-transparent dark background. And the menu links are displayed as a vertical column, centered on the screen for easy tapping on mobile devices. Now that we've set up the nav bar, let's move on to building the hero section. This section will include a live countdown timer, and a subscribe form, and social media links. It will also be fully responsive, so it looks and works great on all screen sizes. But before we start building the hero section, we'll first set up the AOS library inside the app.jsx file. So it works globally across the whole project. So inside the useEffect hook, we'll initialize the AOS library. And set a short duration to control how long each animation takes. And set the easing to ease in out, to make the animation start and end smoothly. We'll also make it play only once when the element appears on screen. And set mirror to false, so the animations don't replay when scrolling back up. Then we import the AOS CSS file, so the animations display correctly throughout the project. After that, we'll create the hero component inside the components folder, and add it to the app.jsx file. Now let's start building the hero component structure. We'll return a section with an ID of hero, and add the classes of hero, and section, and transparent background. We'll also apply a fade-up animation using AOS, with a short delay. Inside the section, we'll add a container with centered text, followed by a row that's also centered horizontally. Then inside this row, we'll create a column with a heading and a short paragraph. Below that, we'll add the countdown section. And it will use a flexbox layout to center all items. And inside it, we'll have 4 small divs. And each div will display a number in a larger heading, and a label below it to indicate what that number represents. After that, we'll add a new column with the class name of Hero Newsletter. And inside it, we'll include a short paragraph and a form. And the form will be with a class name of Newsletter Form. And it won't actually submit anywhere yet, so we'll prevent the default behavior using the onSubmit function. And inside the form, we'll add an email input field, with a placeholder and make it required. And then after this input, we'll add a submit input field with value of subscribe. Then after this column, we'll add a div with the class name of social links. And inside it, we'll include 4 anchor tags, and each one containing an icon from Bootstrap icons. Now let's make the countdown timer dynamic without any extra libraries, just using the useState and the useEffect hooks. We'll start by creating a state variable called timeLeft, using the useState. And it will store the 4 values, days, hours, minutes, and seconds, and all starting from 0. Then inside the useEffect hook, we'll create the target date, and set it to a specific date. Then we'll define a function called updateTimer, that calculates how much time is left until that date. And it gets the current time, and subtracts it from the target date, and then converts the result into days, hours, minutes, and seconds. After that, it updates the time left state with the new values. The updateTimer function will run immediately, and then we will use the setInterval function to call it every second, so the countdown updates in real time. Then we clear the interval when the component is unmount, to keep the app running smoothly. Then we'll replace the static numbers inside the countdown, with the dynamic values. This way, the countdown will update automatically in real time as the state changes. Now let's move to the index.css file, to start styling the hero section. We start with the hero section, giving it a transparent background, and some padding, and setting its position to relative. Then we use Flexbox to align and center everything both vertically and horizontally, keeping the layout clean and balanced. Then we style the main heading by removing the margin, and increasing the font size, and making it bold so it stands out clearly. Then for the paragraph, we add a small margin on top, and set a smaller font size, and apply the heading color to keep the design consistent. Then we add some space above the countdown section to separate it from the text above. And each countdown box is centered, with a light border, and rounded corners, and with some padding to make the numbers more readable. And inside each box, the number is styled with a large and bold font, with a small margin below it. While the label below it uses a smaller font size with medium weight to keep it clear and readable. Then we add space above the newsletter section to separate it from the countdown section. Then for the paragraph inside it, we increase the font size for better readability, and add some space below it to keep elements visually balanced. Then we create a clean and rounded form container with padding and a light background, to make it stand out. And use Flex Display for proper alignment, with a subtle shadow for depth, and a smooth transition for interaction. And when any input inside the form is focused, the border color changes to the accent color to indicate active user interaction. Then we style the email input, to blend seamlessly with the form, by removing its border and matching the background color. And it takes full width for better usability, and uses the contrast color for clear text visibility. And when focused, the default browser outline is removed to maintain a clean and consistent design. Then we style the Submit button, by removing its border, and giving it a rounded shape, and applying the accent color for emphasis. And with some padding and negative margins ensure it fits neatly inside the form, while the text color contrasts clearly for readability. And on hover, the background slightly lightens using color mixing to create a subtle hover effect. Then we style the social links container, with a top margin to separate it from the elements above. And we apply the flex box, to align the icons in the center both vertically and horizontally, creating a clean and balanced layout. Then we design the social media links as rounded icons, using equal width and height to form a circular shape. And we apply Flex Box to center the icons perfectly inside their containers, and use a semi-transparent border and text color to keep them subtle yet visible. And we also give a smooth transition effect, so that when hovered, both the icon color and border change to the accent color for clear interactivity. Then we add responsive styles, to make the hero section adapt smoothly on smaller devices. So on the medium screen, we give the hero section more height, and reduce the font sizes for better readability. And at small screen, we make the countdown boxes more compact, by adjusting their width and padding and text size, so everything stays clear and balanced. With these responsive adjustments, the hero section now looks clean and readable across all screen sizes. Now that we've finished building the hero section, let's move on to the About section. This section is very simple. It starts with a heading at the top, then we have two parts below it. On large screens, these two parts appear side by side, while on smaller screens they stack vertically, one above the other. So let's move to the editor to build this section from scratch. So inside the Components folder, we will create the About component. And then we will add it to the app.jsx file. Inside the About component, we'll add the About data array. This array will hold an icon, and a title, and a description for each item. So we can map over this array, to display the boxes dynamically, keeping the code clean and easy to update. Now we'll start building the structure of the About component. So we'll return a section with the ID of About, and the classes About and Section, and transparent background. Inside it, we'll add a container for the section title, with a fade-up animation, containing an H2 heading and a paragraph. After this container, we'll add another container that creates a grid layout. It arranges its child columns side by side on large screens, and adds vertical spacing between them on smaller screens. Next we add the first column for the About content. This column takes up about 5 columns on extra large screens, and uses a flexible column layout. We also add a fade-up animation with a slight delay. And inside it, we include an H3 heading, and a paragraph to display the main text for this section. Then we add the second column, which takes up 7 columns on extra-large screens. And we also apply a fade-up animation, with a slightly longer delay. And inside it, we create a nested grid to hold the boxes. Then we will map over the About data array, to dynamically generate each box, showing the icon, and the title, and the description for every item. This keeps the layout responsive and the code clean. Now we'll move to the index.css file, to start styling the About component. We style the main heading by increasing the font size, and making it bold, and adding a bottom margin, to give space below it. Then for the paragraph, we add a bottom margin, to separate it from the next element, and maintain a clean layout. Then we style the icon, by increasing its size, and applying the accent color, and adding a small bottom margin, to separate it from the title. Then we style the box title, by increasing its size, and making it bold, and adding a bottom margin for spacing. And for the link inside the title, we apply the heading color, and a smooth transition for hover effects. Then we style the box description, by keeping its font size smaller, and applying a semi-transparent default color, and removing the bottom margin. And for the title link on hover, we change its color to the accent color to highlight it. And we will style the sections globally, by setting the text and background colors, and adding vertical padding, and adjusting scroll offset, and controlling overflow. And for section titles, we center the text, and add padding below, and style the heading to be bold and larger, with a decorative underline using the accent color. And the paragraph below the heading, has its bottom margin removed for a clean layout. That's it for the About section. All the styles and layout are done, and the section is ready on the page. Now let's move on to the contact section. This section includes contact info items and a contact form, all built with a fully responsive design. So let's move to the editor, to build this section from scratch. So inside the component folder, we will create the contact component. And we will add it to the app.jsx file. Inside the contact component, we'll return a section with the ID of contact, and the classes contact, and section, and transparent background. Inside it, we'll add a container for the section title with a fade-up animation, containing heading and a paragraph. After this container, we'll add another container, with a fade-up animation and a short delay. Inside it, we'll create a row, to align the columns next to each other, with spacing between the rows, for better layout and readability. Next, we add the first column for the contact information. It takes up 4 columns on large screens. Inside it, we create 3 info items. And each item uses a flex layout, to place the icon next to the text, and includes a fade-up animation, with increasing delay. And each block contains a heading and a short paragraph, showing the contact details. Then we add the second column for the contact form. Inside it, we create a form with the class name of contact form, with a fade-up animation and a short delay. And the form contains a row, with vertical spacing between the input fields. Then we add the input fields and the text area, with the class name of form control, and a placeholder. Then we will add a submit button at the bottom. Now we'll move to the index.css file, to start styling the contact section. We start styling the contact info items, by adding some space on top, to separate each item. Then we style the icon inside each contact info item, by giving it the accent color, and a soft background using a color mix. And the icon is centered inside a circular shape, with a smooth transition effect for interactivity. And we also add some space on the right, to separate it from the text. Then we style the heading inside each contact info item, by removing extra padding, increasing the font size, and making it bold to stand out. Then, for the paragraph, we remove the padding and bottom margin, and slightly reduce the font size, to keep it simple and readable. Then we add a hover effect to the icon inside each contact info item. So when the user hovers, the background changes to the accent color, and the icon color switches to the default color, creating a clear interactive response. Then we set the contact form's height, to take up the full available space, ensuring it aligns evenly with the contact info section next to it. Then we style the input fields and text area in the contact form, by setting a small font size, and adding comfortable padding. We remove the box shadow, and rounded corners for a clean look. The text color uses the default color, and the background has a soft transparent mix of the main background color. The border also uses a light color mix for a subtle and modern appearance. Then at the focus state of the input fields and text area, the border changes to the accent color when selected, making it clear which field is active. And for the placeholders, we use a lighter mix of the default color, to make the hint text visible but not distracting. Then we style the submit button, with the accent color as the background, and the default color for the text. It has rounded edges, no border, and smooth padding for a modern look. A transition effect is added, and on hover, the background lightens slightly to give a clear visual response. Now we've finished applying all the styles and layout adjustments to make it look clean and responsive. Now let's move to the footer section. Inside the component folder, we will create the footer component. And then add it to the app.jsx file. Inside the footer component, we will return a footer element, with the classes footer and transparent background. Inside it, we add a main container, that holds 4 columns arranged in a row. The first column shows the address with a location icon and text. The second column displays contact details including phone and email. And the third column shows the opening hours for the week. And the fourth column contains social media links with its icons. And at the bottom, we add another container for the copyright text. Now let's style the footer section. We style the main footer section by setting a transparent background and applying the default text color. And the font size is slightly reduced, and padding is added to create space at the top. The footer is also positioned relative, to allow precise control over its inner elements. Then we style the icons inside the footer, by giving them the accent color, adding space on the right, and slightly increasing their size. The headings are styled to be bold and clear, with a medium font size and some space below. For the address section, we remove the bottom margin from the paragraphs to keep the lines close and neatly grouped. Then we style the social media links, by making each one a circular button centered both vertically and horizontally. They have a thin border and light text color, to match the footer's design. A small margin separates the icons, and a smooth transition is added. On hover, both the icon and border change to the accent color, creating a clear interactive effect. Then we style the copyright area, by adding padding above and below for spacing, and a subtle top border to separate it from the rest of the footer. The paragraph inside has its bottom margin removed, to keep the text vertically centered and neatly aligned. Now that we've finished building and styling the footer section, we'll add a scroll to top button. This button will appear when the user scrolls down the page, and when clicked, will smoothly take them back to the top. So inside the app.jsx file, we first create a state variable called showScrollTop, to track whether the scroll to top button should appear. Then, we define a function called handleScroll, that checks if the user has scrolled more than 100 pixels. If so, it sets showScrollTop state to true. Then we add a scroll event listener, to call this function whenever the user scrolls. And we remove the listener when the component unmounts, to keep the code clean. And we should place the scroll handling logic inside a useEffect hook. Then after the footer, we add an anchor element for the scroll to top button. It uses the classes scrollTop, deflex, and alignment utilities to center the icon. We also conditionally add the active class, when the show scroll top state is true, so the button appears only after scrolling down. And when clicked, it prevents the default link behavior, and smoothly scrolls the page back to the top. Next, we'll move to the CSS file to style the scroll to top button. We style the scroll to top button by fixing it at the bottom right corner of the screen and giving it a circular shape with the accent color. It starts hidden with 0 opacity and becomes visible and slightly raised when the active class is added. The icon inside is centered and uses the default color. A smooth transition is applied for visibility and position changes. And on hover, the background slightly lightens for a clear interactive effect. That's the end of this React tutorial. We've built the entire project from scratch, step by step, and made it fully responsive. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more front-end tutorials.